Welcome to the 28th week of pregnancy, and more importantly, welcome to the third trimester. Now, we're going to be covering all the topics that you've come to expect in our week-by-week pregnancy series, like baby development at 28 weeks, the symptoms you might be experiencing at the start of your third trimester, and of course, we're going to look at the think and do list for week 28, and we're going to check in on our expecting crew. But before we go further, we have got to celebrate this milestone of finishing the second trimester and heading into the third trimester because this is really significant. Like, if your pregnancy was a dozen donuts, you've already finished 8 so far. Pretty cool, right? Now, when you saw that pregnancy test, the third trimester probably seemed really far away. But here you are, you've already completed 27 weeks, which means I got to send you a big high five for all of the work that you've done so far. Now, we've got to move our number line because this is actually also the start of your 7th month of pregnancy. Welcome to the Birth Toolbox Classroom. I'm Alice, a doula and childbirth educator, going week by week through pregnancy with you. Sounds like it's time for class. What's happening with baby's development this week? At 28 weeks of development, the fetus is about 14.8 inches long or 37.6 centimeters, which is about this long. The weight of the fetus is just about 2.2 to 2.5 pounds, which is about the same as the weight of a liter of water. As the baby's senses and movement continue to develop, you might notice that they're moving in response to what's happening on the outside of the womb. When you speak to them, they might start moving in response. I remember when I was 28 weeks pregnant with my son, I went to a concert and he was moving like crazy in there during the music. So he was definitely responding. Have you noticed any extra movement when you wake up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night? You might, because by the 28th week of pregnancy, many moms start noticing a pattern of sleep and awake cycles. And this often is opposite of our cycles. So babies tend to get active when we want to sleep. What symptoms and body changes should you be expecting at 28 weeks pregnant? Well, this week, you could be experiencing more back pain and pelvic pain due to that growing size of the uterus and the baby. Stretching and working on good posture might help your discomfort. Now, one of our expecting mamas was experiencing some aches and pains that she thought were normal in pregnancy, but it turned out she had a urinary tract infection. UTIs can feel actually very different when you're pregnant than when you're not pregnant. And unfortunately, they're very common. Now, if you're experiencing discomfort that seems more than usual, reach out to your care provider for a UTI screening. Another symptom that you might be experiencing this week is a shortness of breath. As the baby grows and the uterus expands, it can really compress the diaphragm and leave you short of breath, especially during physical activity and also during sleeping. Now, I love this comment from a viewer that I received. So at Love Carol explains, quote, "I had to explain to my husband that I'm short of breath even after walking across the house. He thought I was exasperated or annoyed by my deep sighs. But nope, I was just trying to fill my lungs and being slowly squeezed from underneath." I love that so much. That is so real.
I am 28 weeks pregnant this week and feeling pretty good. Mostly just noticing that I'm like really having trouble with like bending over and squatting down and kind of like folding in any way. I'm running out of room to do that lately, but otherwise fairly good. This week has been kind of an exciting week. We had a 28-week ultrasound. Those aren't typical where I'm from. Where I live in Canada, for the most part, you just have your anatomy ultrasound at 20 weeks, and that's often the last one. But because of the complications that I had at the end of my first pregnancy, I'm getting some additional scans throughout the third trimester this time, mostly to monitor for fetal growth because my first baby was growth restricted, but it's a little bit too early, I was hearing, for the baby's growth at this stage to be an indicator of what their growth will be like towards the end of the pregnancy and their potential size at birth. But anyways, we had the first of our third trimester growth scans. I am being sent to a high-risk clinic for those scans, so it's really nice actually because you have an MFM who comes to review the results of your scan with you immediately afterwards, so you kind of know right away what the results are instead of having to wait to go over them at your next OB appointment. So everything went well. So far baby's growth is pretty average, kind of right at that like 49th, 50th percentile. But the one thing we did discover is that I knew I had an anterior placenta, and the issue that's kind of on the radar now is that there's quite a large blood vessel from my placenta that's right on top of my C-section scar. So if I do end up needing or wanting a C-section again this time, we'll have to monitor how the placenta moves, if it does, because currently it's in a pretty tricky spot to go through with another C-section. I am hoping to attempt a VBAC for this pregnancy though, so fingers crossed that doesn't end up being a concern for us anyways, but it's something that I guess we'll end up monitoring, not feeling too concerned about it for the most part. The other thing that's exciting this week is that we hired a doula. So we interviewed a couple of different doulas and got to do some kind of consult calls with 2 or 3 of them, and we decided who we would like to use. We did use a doula in our first pregnancy as well, but she's not practicing anymore. She's gone to medical school, so that's great for her. But we did start from scratch in looking for someone new this time, and I'm really looking forward to having the doula's support this time.
Hi, I'm 28 weeks pregnant, and this week I've been feeling pretty good. I had an appointment earlier this week for the gestational diabetes test, and I haven't gotten the results back yet, but I'm feeling pretty good about it. With my last pregnancy I passed, but I felt really crappy like towards when they were going to do the blood draw. Kind of like I was going to pass out or something. And I felt fine this time, so hopefully that's a good sign. I guess I'll just have to wait and see how the results come back. But yeah, I've been feeling really good this week. I've been feeling a little bit of crunch time, getting closer to the end of the pregnancy. I think I'm probably driving everyone in my family crazy, but I've been very productive.
Week 28 of pregnancy. This week, unfortunately, I have a UTI, which I didn't even realize. And at my last appointment with my doctor, I was telling them my symptoms, and I was mainly just like sharp pains in my uterus or just really low, and they were like, you might have a UTI, and I was like, no, I know what that's like. I've had one before. It's not, I just have to pee a lot. And I've attributed it to typical pregnancy symptoms, but lo and behold, it came back positive. So that is TMI, but I didn't even realize that I had one, which was so crazy. So that's the new thing of this week, and could explain why I felt really emotional and really out of it, just very lethargic. But again, I attributed all of these things to typical pregnancy. So that's the good, the bad, and the ugly of week 28.
In week 28, many doctors and midwives give you the test for gestational diabetes at your 28-week appointment. So let's put that on the do side of our board this week. For the think side, I'm going to add maternity leave. Week 28 is a great time to start thinking about your plans for maternity leave and getting started with any preparation you might need to do as well. So it's kind of a think and a do this week. Now, it really differs where you live, your state, your country, your job. You might need to fill out paperwork, talk to your employer. Also this week, something to get thinking about in that same kind of category is a pediatrician. So after the baby is born, usually a baby will see their own doctor, a pediatrician. Now, some people choose a family doctor for their care of their baby, which works too, but it's a good time to start thinking about who will take care of your baby. 2 things not to miss before next week. If you appreciate a modern, no BS childbirth class that's going to leave you with practical skills for labor, then check out the Birth Toolbox class with me. The link is down below. And make sure you're getting our weekly newsletter. I'm going to drop that link down below too. And you can also find it at birthtoolbox.com/newsletter. Hope you had a great 28th week of pregnancy. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you can follow along through the weeks ahead. See you next week.